Okay, in video number 3, we're going to go the other way. So up to this point, we have said, this is the amount of the house, this is the interest rate, how much are my payments going to be? Well, it also might be important to go the other way and say, this is how much money I earn, these are my monthly bills, how much of a house can I afford? Because it doesn't really do you any good to go house hunting in a $400,000 neighborhood if you can only afford a $150,000 house. So it really is important that you understand how much you can afford before you really get into the house hunting. So we call this the total expense ratio. This is on page 194. And if you look at this, we've got the gross income before taxes. And the key word with all of this is monthly. So normally, you know, when you have a job, you talk about, oh, I make $40,000 annually. Okay, well, how much is that monthly? So we will have to do the whole dividing by 12. Housing expenses. Again, people sometimes pay house insurance or land tax or property tax or whatever in terms of yearly. So you may have to divide that by 12 as well. And then your loan payments. So these are car loans, student loans, credit card debt, that kind of thing. The more debt you have, obviously, the less of a house you can buy because you're paying so much in other spots. So let's look at an example of this. So Brian and Jane, they have a combined gross income, right? So this is what they're taking in, $65,000 per year. Their property taxes are $1,200 and insurance are $900 per year. Brian takes the bus, but Jane's got a car payment of $200 a month, and they're both paying off student loans for a total of $700 a month. So how much of a monthly payment can they afford? So if we look at that formula, so the first part says 36% of. So remember that of means multiply. So 0.36 of their monthly gross income. Well, their annual income is $65,000. So if I divide that by 12, okay, now we're in business. And then we are going to subtract their monthly housing expenses. Well, their housing expenses are $1,200 for insurance plus $900 for, $1,200 for property taxes, $900 for insurance. And we have to divide that by 12 because they gave this to us in per year. We need it per month. And then we're going to subtract the monthly payments, which is $200 for the car plus $700 for student loans. So basically, I'm going to simplify each one of these chunks. So when I take this first green chunk, 0.36 times 65,000 over 12, I get $1,950. In the middle, I've got 1,200 plus 900, which is 2,100. Divide that by 12, and I get 175. And then I have 900. So when I put those all together, Brian and Jane can afford an $875 house payment. Okay. Can they afford the 15-year mortgage? No, because the 15-year mortgage, and this comes from video number 2, was $893. So they can afford, about $20 less than what that mortgage is based on their current bills. Okay. Oh, I gave myself more room to work. How about that? All right, so if we know that they can afford an $875 per month payment, okay, well, that's great and all, but how does that translate into the value of a house? So we call this the present value function, present value. Again, we're talking about Excel. So the present value function is very, very similar to the payment function in terms of the numbers that you type in. So and by the way, this is on page 195. So the present value function, if we take PV, that's present value, right? How much of a house can we afford? That's what this is. So my rate, 0.035 divided by 12, that is the same as the payment function. How many payments? Well, we're talking about 12 months in a year, and again, we're talking about a 15-year mortgage. And then the last part, this is the only part that's different, is that now I'm giving away $875 a month, right? If you're making that payment, that money is going away. That's why it's negative. So I'm giving this money away. If you type this into Excel, it's going to spit out $122,397.73. This is the house that Brian and Jane can afford. So their $125,000 house, right, they were short by a little bit. And we kind of understood that because we were comparing, they said $875 a month. This is what they can afford. Oh, excuse me. This is what they can't afford. And the condo that they wanted would have been $893. So that's what made it different. But when you look at 122, this is what they can't afford. So Jane finds another condo with an extra bedroom, and the mortgage is only $121. Can they purchase this condo? Yes, because they can afford $122, $397.73, and that is greater than the $121 that's required for this particular condo. So Jane did a great job in finding a condo that they can live in. So that's Brian and Jane. Now we're going to go to the president. So the president of the United States, also known as POTUS, makes $400,000 annually. He actually earns it. He doesn't make it, but that's the word they use in the packet, so we'll use it. They decide to buy a home that has a property tax of $50,000, home insurance of $15,000 annually. They have $35,000 for a down payment. They have no other loans or debts. What monthly mortgage, I don't know what that word is. What monthly mortgage can the family afford? Okay, so we're using that whole concept of 36% of monthly income, while the annual income is $400,000. If we divide that by 12, makes it monthly. Then we're going to subtract our housing stuff. So the $50,000 property tax plus the $15,000 in insurance, and we're going to divide it by 12 because, again, we need monthly. Now, the last part is student debt, car loans, credit card debt. Well, they don't have any, so that's just a big fat old zero. So when I simplify this, I come up with $12,000, and in the second piece, I've got $5,416.67. So I didn't give myself any room. So the POTUS and his family can look for a house that has $6,583.33, and my friends, that is per month. Right? I don't pay that amount on my house in a year, let alone in a month. So that is crazy. So now, using Excel, what mortgage amount can they afford to borrow? Assuming it's 30 years and 3.25%. So now we are using that PV, right? Because we want to find the present value of a house. So the rate, 0.0325. We need it monthly, divide by 12. So there's 30 years, 12 months in a year, times 30 years in the loan. And we said that they could throw away $6,583.33. Again, I make it negative because that's the money that is going out. If you do that, we now know that the president's family can buy a $1,512,691.73. That is the value of the house that they can mortgage. Now, the max house price the family should consider, well, if we do, what am I doing? Sorry, I lost track. I saw a squirrel or something. Remember, they said that's got a $35,000 down payment. So if you add $35,000 to that, you end up with $1,547,691.73. Now, my only concern is this. A $35,000 down payment is not 20% of a $1.5 million house. And therefore, they're probably going to have to pay mortgage insurance, which is something we don't get into in this class, but it's real life. Generally speaking, if you borrow from a bank and you don't have 20% down, they charge you mortgage insurance, which can raise your payment an extra $100 or so, and that doesn't go towards anything. It's just you're paying insurance because you don't have as much paid on your house. So very, very, very important to check that out. So I believe that is the end of... Yep, it is the end of this. So if you want to buy a $1.5 million house, you need to make about $400,000 a year. So good luck with that. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next with 401ks.